think I could listen to that song a little longer. That's a good song right now on Mother's Day, Sunday. This is the Stockwell Eldredge Show, and we're live. We're starting to draw a massive crowd in front of us right now, so I'm sure they're signing up, waiting for autographs from the two Nelsons. But we're live from the convention center here, and come on down to get free tickets if you mention the Stockwell Eldredge Show. And we're talking about the Remodeling Expo, and we're also talking about estate planning. We have the Nelson twins here, Ben Nelson with Farmers Insurance, and Nate Nelson, attorney at law, doing estate planning and all kinds of things in that realm. And I'm looking around at some of the vendors here, and my kids came with yesterday briefly, and there's a lot of stuff actually that the kids love to see. There's gutters with water running down, and they can see that, especially little kids and adults like me. And then there's hot tubs and things like that they can see and watch. And there's food and cooking classes. You can get your hair done. That's a good trip, good thing for Mother's Day. You can actually go and get your hair done at a salon down on the corner of the other side.
We've got outdoor resorts, so if mom needs to escape, you can go to Midwest Outdoor Resorts and get an escape.
Yes.
Well, and there's bubbles, too, at this water place right here.
And what do we have at our booth, Stephanie, that you brought that I think was really cool? A game that we all love. From Price is Right.
Oh, yeah, Plinko. You can come, play the Plinko game, and then we have all kinds of Wells Fargo trinkets to hand out, and, of course, information about how to expense your remodeling projects with home equity loans or renovation loans.
My Asher and Victoria got to play Plinko at my house because I had the game, because you gave me the game early, and we got to play that a lot, and that's a fun game. That's very fun. So
yeah, it's a hit.
So come on down to the Remodelers Expo, and I'll let the Nelsons share some more valuable information. Is there anything else? We've talked about preparation a lot on the show, and preparing for your real estate sale, preparing for your real estate purchase, preparing for your remodel, investment plans. We talked about preparing for your investments and saying, okay, I want to buy these properties. Let's say I want to buy rental properties, and or I have a number of properties. Does that make it? You know, like I heard Prince had a number of it has a number of homes still, right? So how is that going to play out? Now, is it more important then to have a will if you have a lot of real estate, would you say, or a directive? Or it's just important overall, we know that no matter what. But how does that play into real estate, play into it from a standpoint of investment real estate?
Great question, Jason. Number one, whether Prince had a will or did not have a will, if that was his primary testamentary instrument or no instrument at all, then he's going to have a probate in every single state in which he owns real property. So you could imagine for sure there will be a California probate, a Minnesota probate, and again, now we're back into the lawyers like 1999 partying, right? Yeah. Yep. So, but your question is dealing with investment real estate, and I think one of the most important things, not only earlier we talked about how insurance can help provide liquidity so we can maintain the investments, but who's going to manage them? And a trust, as opposed to a will, to be the primary vehicle to hold the investment properties, could probably satisfy almost all the short-term objectives that someone like an co-investor would need to make sure that the properties are maintained. Number one, there would be no probates for those investment properties if they're held in a revocable trust, whether that's in California, Arizona, Minnesota, Wisconsin, all of them.
Wow.
Number two, now that Prince isn't active to manage the investments, he could have, is it Morris Day or whoever would be second in line, Sheila E., right, to be the manager of the investments. So the show goes on. It's not going to be tied up in court over who's managing the investment property. So Prince would say, as long as I'm alive, it's me, Prince, incompetent. When I'm incapacitated or gone, then it's going to be Morris Day, and after that it's going to be Sheila E. And that's going to be pretty much in stone unless Morris Day and Sheila E. can't hold up, perform. The rest of his assets could still be a free-for-all, so there's a couple tricks about funding trusts. But to answer your question on the real estate, I think, again, keep it insured, make sure there's a liquidity in the state, and make sure there's a succession of management, and let's not haul this into courts and all over the states that the property resides.
So, Nate, does an estate attorney help set up trusts?
Very much so. We'd have a discussion on will, trust, and which assets are appropriate for each instrument.
And the mortgage piece of this, I have a question about that. So let's say you're not as wealthy or as famous as Prince. Let's say you actually have more debt maybe than you have assets. So, let's say you have a lot of debt, and then something happens. Why would you even bother then? Because you don't want to leave the debt with just here you go. I'm giving you my will, and it's actually worth less than what I own. How does that come into play, or is that a time when you maybe don't want to have a will?
Jason, it's actually even worse. No,
It's worse?
It's actually worse because now no matter what, say you're not famous or say you don't even have that much drama in your life.
Don't have drama.
I have none.
So I guess you would never die then, right? But anyway, something happens to you, and if it's, for lack of a better word, a drama-free transaction, there's an informal probate proceeding which will pretty much reduce the role of the attorneys and cut down on the costs and the notice requirements. However, if you die with an insolvent estate where you're
Insolvent, that's the word,
yes. Where your debts exceed your assets, then you have to use a formal probate, which means you have to call someone, me or someone like me, an attorney, and then that opens up a whole bunch of additional requirements that could have been avoided if the estate were properly planned for, and hopefully if there could have been built-in insolvency protections. But without any, there's a very complicated schedule of which creditors are going to get paid ahead of other creditors, and the poor beneficiaries will probably be omitted as beneficiaries.
So let me ask you a question, though, Nate. So being a single person, and I probably have more debt because my house is not owned free and clear. But what if I have a will or an estate then, and there's money owed, or I have debt? Are my beneficiaries then responsible for personally paying that, or is that something I have to think about if I choose a beneficiary? Making sure that they can afford to pay things, or maybe you could talk about that. Like, how do I, as a single person, who do I choose? I've got 2 brothers and a sister who are all really great, fiscally responsible, and I trust any one of them. Or do I leave it all to my 7 nieces and nephews equally, or my dad? How do you go about things like that?
Great question, Stephanie. Immediately, you're not going to, by virtue of a will or a trust alone, pass debt obligations onto the beneficiaries. What could happen, unfortunately, is just that the beneficiaries won't receive a share or the share they had hoped for of the estate just because it'll be consumed. But I think the question that you really want to add on top of that is who would manage the estate now that you're gone, because it'll either be a personal representative if you have a will, or it'll be a trustee if you have a trust, and both of those are fiduciaries. And the fiduciaries can assume personal liability if they make the wrong choice. So they would not be required to satisfy any shortfall, but if they take a misstep, they could be personally liable.
Oh, good to know.
And the other quick question, obviously if you have assets, those with a will go to the heirs or the beneficiaries. If you have debt and you're insolvent, does the debt go to them, or does it just get eaten up by the state or probate? I know it can be complicated, but what's the general rule on that?
General rule is it'll be eaten up.
It will be. So debt does not have to follow the estate.
Right, but it could cost, like in the case of an investment property, it could cost the liquidation of the investment property.
Oh, so it could eat up any potential equity. I see what you're saying. Yes. Okay. Cool. Well, great information. And come on down to the Remodelers Expo here at the Convention Center. We will be here all day today. We're doing a seminar at 1:30. And if you mention the Stockwell Eldridge Show, you get in for free, like I said before. And happy Mother's Day, everybody. We'll be back shortly. I'm Jason Stockwell with RE/MAX Results.
Don Eldridge, RE/MAX Results.
And we'll be back.
Take the last train to Clarksville and I'll meet you at the station. You can be here by 4:30, 'cause I've made your reservation. Don't be slow.